How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tear Talk. Guys, got an update here for the Ellen Greenberg case. October 2025 report reaffirms suicide amid 23 stab wounds. It used to be 20, now it's 23. I have an update here. I became familiar with this case through the Hulu special, plus people pushing it my way. So once I saw the update come through, I wanted to go ahead and provide you guys with the update. If you guys are not familiar with this case, I will talk about it shortly, but then go more into the findings. This is Ellen Greenberg right here. And this is her with Sam Goldberg. And then this is her parents who have been fighting to have this suicide looked at because they believe that it was a homicide, that she was murdered. And I believe they are trying to put the blame on him. Sam Goldberg, the fiance. So let's go ahead and catch everybody up, and then we will go ahead and do the update. So on January 26, 2011, Ellen was found in her apartment at the Venice Loft Complex in the Montauk neighborhood of Philadelphia. Her fiance, Sam Goldberg, had just returned from the gym and said the door was locked with the swing bar latch. That's important. When he finally broke in, he found Ellen slumped in the kitchen, stabbed more than 20 times. The injuries were shocking: 10 wounds to her chest and abdomen, 10 more to her neck and the back of her head. At first, Philadelphia's medical examiner's office classified her death as a homicide, but within weeks, after closed-door meetings with police and the district attorney's office, that ruling was quietly changed to suicide. From that moment on, Ellen's parents, Josh and Sandy Greenberg, have been in a relentless fight. They've never believed their daughter stabbed herself 20 times. So they hired top forensic experts like Dr. Cyril Weck and Dr. Henry Lee, and they spent 14 years pushing to have her case reopened. And in October 2025, they finally got a new review. As part of a legal settlement, Philadelphia's medical examiner office, now led by Dr. Lindsay Simon, released a 32-page report re-examining Ellen's death. This was supposed to be the moment of truth, but here's what the report says. Suicide still stands. So Dr. Simon's team documented even more injuries than before. So 23 stab wounds in total, not 20, and 31 bruises, not 11. Despite these new findings, Simon still concluded Ellen's death was a suicide. She argued that the apartment was locked from the inside. There were no defensive wounds on Ellen's body. No foreign DNA was found on the knife, only Ellen's. And Ellen had a history of anxiety, was on Zoloft and Klonopin, and had been under stress at work in January of 2011, particularly over upcoming grade submissions. Simon admitted the pattern of wounds was admittedly unusual, but insisted nothing about them made suicide impossible. She said the smaller cuts look like hesitation marks. But there are some controversies inside the report. There's some contradictions that a lot of people are seeing as staggering. So some of Ellen's wounds went into her brain. One pierced her spinal cord. Another severed her aorta. Experts argue these injuries would have left her incapacitated or unconscious almost immediately. They say it's not physically possible to keep stabbing yourself in the back of the head and neck after that. The bruises, 31 of them, were written off by the city as incidental daily life injuries. Ellen's lawyers fired back. That must be a full contact first grade class, tantamount to playing with eagles. And that spinal cord wound, a neuropathologist once testified it showed no bleeding, meaning it may have been inflicted after Ellen was already dead. That screams homicide. But Simon's report dismissed it as an artifact, maybe caused accidentally during the autopsy itself, a conclusion Ellen's family calls junk science. Look at that. They're saying this could have happened during the autopsy. And then there's Dr. Marlon Osborne, the original pathologist who performed Ellen's autopsy in 2011. Back then, he reluctantly signed off on suicide, but in January of 2025, he filed a sworn statement reversing himself, saying Ellen's death should be classified as something other than suicide. The other report didn't even mention his reversal. Remember, he didn't say it was homicide. but he said it should be reported as something else other than suicide, so maybe undetermined, which would still give it a chance to reopen. The Greenberg's attorney, Joseph Pedraza, called the report a disgrace to the city, a betrayal of basic science, and an insult to Ellen. He accused the medical examiner's office of ignoring clear evidence and producing a whitewash to defend their original mistake. Josh and Sandy Greenberg described it as a monstrous betrayal, and they vow to keep fighting until someone finally tells them what really happened to their daughter. Now, the media didn't buy it either. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported that the 7 experts Simon consulted, 5 disagreed with suicide, only 1 supported it, the one retained by the city. At the same time, Hulu released a 3-part docuseries called Death in Apartment 603, which aired in September of 2025. This is what I watched. It featured Ellen's parents, independent experts, and friends all asking the same question. How can a young woman stab herself more than 20 times? Public outrage exploded. Over 160,000 people signed petitions demanding justice. Social media lit up, with many calling the report a sham and urgent state and federal intervention. What happens next? Because of the February 2025 settlement, the Greenbergs can't sue the city of Philadelphia again. The city has checked its box. It re-examined the case and issued a report. But Judge Linda Carpenter, who oversaw the settlement, was openly frustrated with the city's delay. She even mused in court whether she could change Ellen's death certificate herself from suicide to undetermined. That tells you how unusual the case is. Now the family is exploring new options, federal intervention, an appeal to the Pennsylvania Attorney General, or even civil lawsuit. They made it clear they will not stop. So the bottom line in this update is here we are 14 years later. Ellen Greenberg's death certificate still says suicide. The Philadelphia medical examiner reaffirmed that in October of 2025, even after admitting there were more stab wounds and more bruises than originally recorded, it's still a suicide. But her family, leading forensic experts, and much of the public say the evidence doesn't add up. For them, this isn't just about Ellen. It's about whether institutions can admit mistakes, whether families can get truth from the system, and whether justice can be silenced by paperwork. And so the battle continues. So that's the latest update. There she is. And this is mom and dad still fighting for her. And the question is, if it was not a suicide, what else could it be? Does he, Sam Goldberg, know more? As always, guys, the show is Tear Talk. Please stay safe.